Thanks for joining us. This is the monthly webinar, mini webinar, I call it, because it's only an hour long. But I'd like to do quick introductions, and we do a quick chapter meeting, and then we're going to dive right into the resources and how to access them, how to unleash them, and what that's all about. So, and I think this is a great topic because we need resources, and if we have them inside of us and they're there, but we can't figure out how to access them, what good are they doing us, right? That's the way I look at it. Again, I'm Patty Scott. I'm Up Hypnosis Institute is my school. I've been in private practice for 33 plus years, and I've had my school for about 23 years. And I am a trainer for the International Association of Counselors and Therapists, which this is also a chapter meeting for. We'll do a quick short one. And past president of the Hypnosis Education Association, which is a not-for-profit Florida-based hypnosis group, a beautiful group of people. So let's find out who's here. Just real quick, your name, where you're coming to us from, and if you're a hypnotist or what your other interest is here. And the other thing for tonight that I would like for you to say, one resource that you have that you think is your best resource that you bring to your life. So think about what you think is your best asset or your best resource. And Ellen, why don't you start?
So hi, my name's Ellen. I'm from Lincoln, United Kingdom. I am a hypnotherapist trained with Marissa Peer School. I'm also a coach, and I help people find their purpose in life. And I would say that one of my greatest inner resources is my intuition.
That's a good one to have in this field for sure.
A certified hypnotherapist. I'm also doing my 25 people I need to do for the quantum hypnosis technique. And I'm also a real estate agent. So, and I would think my best inner resource is I seem to be able to connect with people fairly easily, and they feel comfortable talking to me and telling me stuff I didn't even ask them about. And
do you have a name for that? Do you have a word that describes that trait, that characteristic? What would you call that?
I don't know. Maybe it's an empath, because I just connect with them.
Okay.
And when I'm doing sessions, I end up seeing like a little movie play in my head as they're telling me what they're singing. So
sounds like intuition a little bit too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like that connection we make with people. And I'm asking that, I decided to ask that tonight because of the topic and because we all do have a different frame or a different map, as we would say in NLP. We have different references in our experience and our training and our education and our cultural upbringing that puts different meaning on different words, doesn't it? That means something a little different for each of us, even though we get the general idea of what it means. And I'm going to, because that's the starting point for you all, but inside of you, your unconscious, I call part of your unlimited mind, I like to call it, the part of you that's your creative unconscious mind that knows exactly for you what those words mean, right? Mm-hmm. And it's a whole lot more than words are always insufficient to explain that realm, which is that abstract imaginary realm of the creative mind, and that's why I call it the unlimited mind, because it has so much more available to it. It has more flexibility, it has more room to explore. So since Patty can't get on the recording, we'll just say welcome, Patty. And anybody else that shows up, I had about 9 RSVPs, so hopefully some people come on. There was a little confusion with the link, and I'm sure it was my fault. I think I accidentally put the link for this weekend's class, which is a paid class for hypnosis and NLP, a 2-day training for people to take. And all of a sudden it hit me that something had happened, and that ended up being on there. So hopefully nobody got messed up from that. The bottom line is we're here to learn. We're here to expand ourselves, right? When we talk about learning and expanding, that's why I started doing these. Because I said, let's find a place where I can do a different topic every month. Once in a while, I bring in a guest person to speak. I've done that not that many times, but part of it is also to give me an opportunity to research, to review things that I maybe learned 20, 30 years ago, and to add to it, and for me to continue to learn from all of you. Because when we're all in a space together, whether it's online or in a room live, we learn from each other. We learn through experiencing life, right? We can read the books, and I've read lots of hypnosis books. I've got a great library, and we can listen to recordings and we can watch videos. And yet our experience moment by moment, viscerally, that we get our emotional self into is where we really get those really deeply embedded life lessons, right? So what we're going to do tonight with resources is, you all have, anybody also that watches the replay of this, we all have resources that we know about. And I had asked you, what is one that you both know that serves you in your life? And I have one that I always thought served me was energy. That's just, even as a kid, I always loved the fact that I had energy. The second one, equally, I think, is being creative. I grew up very poor in a small town. We didn't have much, and I had to be creative. I had to make up my own stuff, my own games, my own reality. And I made up a reality before I could almost even talk yet, that I wanted to be a singer when I grew up. And for those of you who see this who don't know my background, I'm not going to go that much into it. But since I started at such a young age, those of you that are hypnotists know that we don't really fully get into our beta consciousness till about 7, 8, 9 years old. Most people agree. So we're in hypnosis, theta hypnosis, up until maybe 3 or 4 or 5. And then we're in alpha, which is light hypnosis. We're being programmed. We're being conditioned. We're learning from modeling. So we were doing NLP and hypnosis without having that label on it, because that's how we evolved naturally. And we were learning all those things and forming our belief systems and our self-identity and all of those things. And I started so young, and it was so embedded because I didn't have a lot of other stuff to do other than in my imagination as a child, that I ended up at age 20 becoming a singer after a lot of trials and tribulations that should have made it impossible. And one was a back injury that also led me to hypnosis years later, because I pretty much cured a back injury that was impossible to cure without surgery. And I did it with my mind. So your mind is so powerful, and we come into the world with so many immutable things, I call them, those inborn traits, characteristics, talents, and abilities that sometimes people don't really even discover or tap into. Sometimes in their entire lifetime they don't. And everybody knows about people that were in their 90s, 80s or 90s, and all of a sudden they found out they could paint. Can think of a couple people that had that happen, and they became famous painters, or other types of things that they didn't. So if you're lucky enough to tap into your resources, and if you learn these kinds of techniques, which are just strategies for doing what some people do naturally, hopefully you've discovered some ways on your own or through these techniques. And the things that led me to hypnosis and NLP are just that. I was hungry. I was curious. And I still think curiosity is the best way to start learning these techniques. Curiosity about the mind, which I will never get tired of studying, because our mind is so powerful. And when I call it the unlimited mind, I truly mean that, because I've seen it do things that most people and experts out there say is impossible, and they call it miracles. So what does that mean? That means you might as well go for it. I always say it can't hurt, and it most definitely can help. So hypnosis and NLP are very near and dear to my heart, and they answered all the questions better than anything else. Although I have studied psychology, I've studied behavioral techniques, cognitive behavioral. Now there's 1,000 different offshoots from psychology that are starting to look in the last 5 to 10 years an awful lot like what we've been doing in hypnosis and NLP for a long time. So I think they're all hopefully getting open and staying open to evolving into, it's not about the label on the technique or the thing. It's about how do we work? How do we function? That's what all of these things are trying to figure out, right? How do we function, and how we can help ourselves to intentionally function more efficiently, and accessing your resources that you were given as gifts when you came into this world that make you unique and special from everyone else. You have a right, and I think we have a responsibility to discover them, to access them, and to unleash them to serve us in our life, because I believe that's why we have them. Why else would you have something if you weren't meant to use it, of course? So think about what are resources. When you think of what is a resource, Ellen, you said intuition, I believe was your word, right? I think intuition is a very valuable resource to have, especially if you're going to do any kind of helping work with other people, if you want to help someone in some way. And Maureen, you used the word empath. You had a lot of other descriptions of that would make it fall into the realm of someone that is really good at creating rapport with people, that you're able to get rapport with people to where they feel connected to you, right? Mm-hmm. And that's having that intuitive way to interact with someone, to communicate, because this work is about communication, isn't it? And this, what we're talking about tonight, is about how do we communicate within ourselves. In our, oh, look at that. Oh, look,
I
she
didn't
just
mean to do that.
blossomed into this beautiful, oh my goodness, that's so pretty.
I
Wow,
had another background.
That was a pattern interrupt.
Sorry.
Pattern interrupter. No, don't be sorry. I loved it. That was phenomenal, actually. So I don't believe in coincidences, by the way. A lot of hypnotists don't, because they happen too often. Once you get into this field, they happen all the time, and you just like, oh, gee, there's another one. You know? By the way, coincidences can be inspiration, can't they? Mm-hmm. They can. It's like a distraction. We were talking about before I put recording on. I was saying I'm someone, when I'm training people, I want a few interruptions when I'm training students. If it's completely quiet and everything's going perfectly, they probably aren't learning a whole lot. But if they have to adapt and adjust and be flexible and figure out, oh, there was just a bang in the next room and it just sounded like somebody dropped something. It's nothing I really need to go check out or anything. Or somebody slammed a door, which I used to also do. You know, that you now have to use your intuitive self in the moment to come up with some way, hopefully, to incorporate it. And as hypnotists, we know we call that the utilization approach to hypnosis, something that Milton Erickson did naturally. And he didn't call it that probably until Bandler and Grinder started studying him and putting labels on the things they learned that he used to do. But that's what we've learned he was so good at. If something happened, or if the client says or does something unexpected, which happens a lot, as most of you know, that your job as the guide, as the facilitator, is how can we use it? And that's what's different with hypnosis. I love it. It's not about what's wrong and how can we fix it. It's about what is happening right now and what can we do with it? How can we use it to achieve what this person asking me for help with wants to achieve? How is it useful? So how is your intuition and your empathy and the other things that maybe a lot of you are coming up with about what you see as some of your resources that you know you bring to life, or to your, if you're a hypnotist, to your work? Think about how that serves you so nicely. And the one that came to you first, there's probably a flood of other things that your creative mind, I call it the unconscious. You may use the term subconscious. I don't really care what you call it again. Just know when I say unconscious, I mean what's outside of your awareness. Conscious, when I say it, means what we're aware of right now, which is a little tiny bit, right? And all the rest that's coming in through all of our senses, all those billions of bits of information that are, somebody knew how to measure that somehow, that those are all available to the unconscious mind. And it's sorting, isn't it? It's sorting based on what it knows about you and what it knows you're looking for here tonight, in this case, and what it is for you yourself, or for your practice, if that's the case, what it is that can assist you and allow you to evolve and grow the way you were designed to, based on your inner resources that you may or may not have any idea about. Some of them, most likely there's many resources you have that you haven't even discovered yet, since everyone here looks so young. So think about all the resources you're aware of, and then realize, and I would just encourage you to just accept and consider that you have many, many more that haven't yet been tapped into and made available to you, that you haven't become conscious of, that you haven't become aware of at a conscious level. So thinking of that, think about, where are your resources? I think they just come in with the package. Some resources like resilience or like confidence or some things like that are things that we develop perhaps through life, right? And even things like intuition can be developed. I think doing this work definitely develops your intuitive part of your mind, right? Think about, how do you access that when you are in a situation, whatever that might be, for everybody that's watching this, where you become consciously aware that you would like to, and that you decide you need a certain resource that would be useful at this moment. How do you access it? Do either of you that I can see on this webinar have an idea of how? Do you have a way that you, when you decide you need something in the moment, do you have a way that you access a resource that you determine is something you could either use or use more of in that moment?
Yeah, so before a session, I do like a little meditation, because I do it in the evenings, and I work during the day, and I try and like empty my mind and just clear out all that chaos from my day earlier, and get really quiet, and just sort of like we have a shower. I try and refresh ourselves. I do that with my mind. So I try and do that for like at least 10 minutes before a session, and I feel well grounded, and I feel that I'm able to be more attuned with my intuition when I go in a session. I feel that I'm able to be more present with the person, and being more present, I feel like I'm able to pick up on things. I get little niggles, and I think, oh, I think I need to go there, or I need to explore this further, and just ask some probing questions.
Beautiful. I love that. And I'm so inspired by what you're saying, because intuition, the way you're talking about it, is something that how do you teach that to someone, right? It's an experience. It's a sense. And those are the things that are challenging. I think everyone can develop it to a certain point, but you seem to have it so naturally. I can tell just by the way you're talking about it. So preparing yourself ahead of time and clearing, and that's one thing in my trainings with hypnotists that I wasn't taught, and I notice a lot of other people aren't teaching, is how to do that. And before the session, and also during the session, should something unexpected happen, right? To be able to instantly have something available to clear, in case something happens in the session that is disruptive or that is unexpected, or is, we know things can happen, and they can throw us off of our, whatever we like to get into that realm of that flow, that something can happen to take us off it. So that's a powerful tool that you have, and you've discovered a ritual, right? We can create a ritual that our mind knows, when I do this is the state I want to be in. This is the state that is conducive to me being the best help for this person that's coming to me. Yeah, beautiful. That's beautiful. How about you, Maureen? Do you have any ideas on that, or thoughts of how you clear yourself, either in the moment or maybe before you work with people?
I sometimes, if something comes up or I'm not sure what to do, it's like I just kind of go inside my head and yell help. and different ideas or questions will come into my head as to what to do or where to lead them. So one of the things I've learned just recently, that I really need to potentially protect myself, because energetically I'm very, like I said, empathic, and I pick things up, and sometimes things get stuck. And I had that happen because I also have the ability to be a medium, and I don't have it turned on because I don't want to let them know I'm available. You know what I mean? So, but
unless someone asks you, yeah.
So this client had a brother that had passed, and he tried desperately to come in ahead before the session, and I had asked her before I launched into it. I'm like, I know you mentioned about your brother. I'm like, I said, is it okay we talk about him? I said, sometimes I pick up messages, and are you okay with it? And she said yes. And then she talked over me the entire time and wouldn't let me give her the information. And I think it got stuck in me, because for almost a week, I was so exhausted. I had no energy.
It
And
was,
yeah, a friend of mine, she does structural energetic therapy. And she said, I think you got energy stuck in your C1, vertebrae. And she did a cranial whatever, and it seemed to release it because I'm like immediately was better like that. And so,
and you
I,
just, yeah.
yeah.
You brought up another thing that is challenging to teach people, and anybody in the helping fields. If you work with nurses, I mean, we'll never run out of people to work with in the medical field because they don't
yeah,
know how to protect themselves from,
right.
and people, I did a whole thing. I don't want to get off topic here, but that's a resource. It's a resource to have an ability to be able to clear your stuff and be empathic and compassionate and loving and connected without letting the drama or any negative energy come into you or whatever your
Right.
words are, that kind of thing.
Well, if
And
you have a
it
class for
is a
that, I'll
skill.
take it.
It's a skill. Yeah, it's a skill that we can develop, and it is something that I work with with my hypnosis trainings, because I see, again, that's something I don't see people addressing. And it is something we can work with other people, because a lot of times the people that come to us that are having anxiety and all these other things, like I said, even if they're not in the helping fields or whatever, it's like they don't know how to protect themselves.
Right.
And protection doesn't mean shutting yourself off from people. It actually, a technique that I teach, and you can look it up if you want. I got other trainings where I teach it. For my degree research, I developed something called pivotal response conditioning, and it's based on a combination of many things, like what Ellen was talking about, where you prepare yourself, you get into a state that is conducive for being, because what we do is, I think of us as we hold that space. We have to be in a certain space inside of us energetically, or however you think of that. And then we also have to now connect with someone out there that has their own energy. Right. And when somebody first comes in to see us, their energy usually isn't all happy, positive, upbeat energy, right? And it might be some serious, disease or something. I do a lot of medical referrals. And so I developed this thing called pivotal response conditioning, and I teach it to all of my clients as well. It is part of it is a way to connect and be even more in tune, but not letting any drama or negative energy enter into your space that would pollute your ability to keep offering. I love what you said, by the way. It's the first time I've ever heard someone say, I went go inside of myself and say help. That just tickled me because it was so original.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah. No, I'm like, I don't know what to ask.
And let me just ask you this, because this has to do with what we're talking about. Because remember, our resources, there are resources. We can learn and develop different things from outside help and people and coaches and all of this and other hypnotists or whatever. But it's still inside of us that it all happens, right? Just like the healing. I believe all healing happens inside of the person. You can get help from out there. That's fine. I'm all for all the help you can get. And yet the healing actually occurs inside. So when you do that, to me, you're going inside of your creative unconscious mind and saying, offer me something from my training, from my experience, from all the things that you brought into all of your resources. So in a way, that's just a cute way of doing it that I've never heard before. It's like, help, and it's like, okay. And then trusting is part of it, right? Trusting, because why would you ask for help from a place where you don't think you can get it?
Right.
So I'm thinking of that as a little ritual that you have developed. And I just find it fascinating that you trust yourself enough that your mind will come up with something, right?
Well, I don't know if it's me or it's them, they, them.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And that's a whole nother class. We could do a whole nother training on that.
Yeah.
I've got a
book. They normally tell me things and it always works. So
yeah. And I think, just so you know, I think of hypnosis as we open the channel to the creative unconscious. I believe that is the nexus, the connection, the conduit to everything. Whatever someone believes or doesn't even think they believe, it doesn't matter. I believe that when we do this work, if we get in the right state, we have access to way more than even our own experience and knowledge and wisdom and all that. So however that hit you, it does seem to work though. If you trust yourself, there's a lot more at the very least that you have available. And that's part of it too, is trusting. So like I said, everybody has resources that can be developed more. And I believe, my belief system says that people have resources that they possibly aren't even aware of yet.
Mhm.
So when you think about where are your resources, they're inside of you. You both kind of agree with that concept? They're inside of you, the ability to access the resources and to receive, if depending on your belief system, again, because I don't get into, my job isn't to change or to try to educate my clients. My job is to use what they bring in and their belief systems. And the only time I address belief systems is if they're limiting them. If they have a belief system that is limiting them, the name of my company is Up Hypnosis Institute. The long name is Unlimited Possibilities. So I'm always searching, I'm always asking questions and listening for what are the possibilities, what are their resources, and what can we access to help them get what they're asking me to help them with. And if they don't believe in a higher power or anything, any kind of thing like that, I don't use those words, but I still know they can go into themselves, and in the right state, they can access things. It doesn't matter where they think it's coming from. To me, I know it's available for everyone. And I've had people that got answers in sessions and said, I don't know where that came from, but I know it didn't come from me. But they didn't believe in anything, just you live, you die, that's it. And it didn't matter. They got what they needed. They were happy. I'm not going to interpret what happened. But if they got what they needed, at least, at the very least, they know they got more inside of them, the ability to access more information. So anyway, that's just kind of how I approach this work. So it's about what can you do? And how do you access your inner resources? You both gave me a couple of strategies, right? We developed strategies. And if you can do it with the rituals that you came up with, that can be, if you wanted it to, transformed, and may not need to be, but it can be transformed into an instant state shifter, I call it. Like I'm in a state that isn't the best for what's happening around me right now, that something just happened unexpected, let's say with the client, that I can instantly shift. And so, and we can teach ourselves that very quickly with hypnosis. We know that. So the help me is a fast one while something's happening, right? And if you have just a second to listen and trust it, sometimes right then the thought comes or something. I'm sure you've all had it happen where you had something come out of your mouth when you're working with a client that you didn't plan to say. That's called that's that intuition. And I use a recording that I don't give it to the client, but I listen to it sometimes later. And I'll listen to recordings sometimes of sessions and I'll go, I don't remember saying any of that stuff. I don't know where it came from. I think that's a good thing. Because again, we have that intelligence that can help us to know what to say based on, again, having that connection with the client, because it's not coming from our past experience other than learning how to use it. It's coming from what we intuitively are picking up on, that the client's unconscious mind is giving us to help them. Because everybody's unconscious wants you to be, if they're coming for help, that part of them wants them to feel better, wants them to be healthy and happy and successful and all of that. So we can get those clues from their unconscious mind that their conscious logical mind hasn't been able to figure out before they would come to a hypnotherapist, right? So how you access these things, you can finesse that. You can make faster strategies, instant strategies. If you can do it in one way, you can ask your mind to do it faster, because once you've got from point A to point B, just like with our clients, when they come and they've never been hypnotized before, and the first time it takes them 20 minutes to get them to a certain state of relaxation that they haven't been able to achieve maybe for years, if ever. But after they've done it a couple times, that A to B gets shorter, doesn't it? And pretty soon after we do this for a long time, I'm sure you all found you could probably sit in a chair when you're just in your normal beta consciousness and with the intention and desire to go into at least alpha or deeper state of hypnosis, you could probably take 1 to 3 breaths with that intention and be there. If you have the electrodes on your head, I did the biofeedback training. So, they can see your brain waves can slow down very, very quickly, Interesting statement, but you know what I mean, right? So your mind can do things very efficiently and very quickly. Once you get out of the way, you teach it something, ask for some result, and it can do that for you. So I would encourage anybody who doesn't have an instant state shifter to explore that, to consider that your mind knows how to make this happen very, very quickly. Because sometimes you don't have the luxury of saying, wait a minute, I need to go for 5 or 10 minutes and get into the right place. That's not always. And by the way, if you can do it, now you can teach your clients to do it. Because like I said, the world doesn't always cooperate. And sometimes it isn't cooperating at all. And the only place your client can feel a sense of peace or control or safety is in their own consciousness. Because maybe everything is chaos around them. So it's a very valuable tool to learn and for yourselves and to teach those people that come to you wanting you to help them. Because hopefully you're doing this work for yourself. Most people that I've met, a lot of them come to this field because of something like what happened to me, where I cured my back injury and I don't know how I did it. So I started looking like, how did I even know I could do that? I don't know where that came from. And, you start looking, and that's what got me into this field 20 years later, right? So how do you unleash? So once you believe and trust and assume, it's okay to assume in this case, that you have more resources than you're actually having available as much as maybe you would like to, how do you unleash them? Well, your imagination can come up with a creative way to do it with a little nice process of self-hypnosis. And I would like to take you, with your permission, through a little process that I didn't plan ahead what I'm going to do. But I think one way to discover more about ourselves is to experience something different and ask for something and kind of get out of the way for a few minutes and just be curious again and notice what happens, notice what shows up for us. So I can only work specifically, of course, with the two here that I can see, but I'm going to do this generically for anybody that's listening now or that may listen in the future to this, because everybody, again, is so unique. And even you on a conscious level, again, you're only aware of just so much about what you have inside of you. And there's so much more. And most people know that there's more, because every once in a while it shows up and we go, where did that come from? Right? And how can I do that again? How can I access that again? How can I be in that state more often? Right? So again, these are all learning experiences. So I think it's nice to do something. So you have the starting point words that you came up with, and you may have come up with a better way to say it or think about it, or some other words to add to it. And that's your logical mind. So thank it for being aware on a conscious beta level of what you bring to your life and to your work that you do. Thank it for those things that you've already accessed and developed up until now. And the good news about now, I have a now clock that used to be in my training room of my office. I have a place where I'm doing some trainings now that I have it there, but it's instead of 12, 3, 6, and 9, it says now, 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 and now. So the joke is when somebody says, what time is it? I say it's now. So like I said, the good news is every moment is now. And every now moment is the only time you can do something or change something or learn something. So if you'd like to learn something new about yourself here tonight, you may want to close your eyes if that's something that allows you to focus inwardly a little better. And you don't have to be lying on a bed or in a recliner. You can be relaxed any place to some level. And you don't need to be at a very deep, my belief system, at least from my experience with clients through the years and with myself, you don't have to be at a really deep level, whatever that means. I got all these great depth charts that we teach people. I think your mind knows exactly where is the best place for you to be right now, and each now throughout the rest of this little process, because I don't know where I'm going yet either. And inside of yourself, you may want to just imagine, let your creative mind explore. Wherever inside of you, you can imagine a place as if it's a place where all of the resources that you brought into this world are stored. This very special place, maybe even a sacred place, you might think of it, where all that you brought into this world is stored, just wonderfully available. And then all of the things that you added to what you brought into the world, the knowledge, the experience, all of the things that you've learned, and as you've grown and evolved the way you were designed to. And here today, your creative unconscious mind, that part of your mind that we were just talking about, that knows everything about you. It knows every instant of your life. It knows every cell in your body. It knows everything about you, all of your hopes and dreams that you've had throughout your entire life, every thought you've ever had, and it knows your possibilities. It knows those traits, perhaps some talents or abilities that you haven't developed completely. Some things maybe that you aren't even aware of yet. So based on what it knows that your goals are, what your passion is in this life, the journey that you have decided is the right journey for you to use what you brought into this life, trusting that part of your mind now to explore this very special place inside of you where all of these precious gifts are stored. And it might even be interesting to let your creative imagination think about these gifts as being wrapped up in beautiful wrapping paper, or perhaps in some very beautiful storage containers of some other kind, maybe jewelry boxes. Something special that is good enough to store your precious gifts that you have brought through your life and into your life up to this moment. And as you scan in your mind, some people see things, some people may just get a sense. So trust and allow your mind to give you this experience in whatever way your wonderful imagination works. As if you're in this space now inside of yourself where all of these gifts are stored in some interesting way. And as you scan this room, one particular storage container, however it comes to you or you sense it, seems to draw you to it. And without judging or questioning or even needing to know the reason, trust yourself to move and just imagine moving towards a particular container that your creative mind here today, right this moment now, knows there's something very special to either remind you, or to introduce you perhaps to. That is a resource with all that it knows about you that is something right now to serve you. That is very, very valuable for you to now unleash in its full capacity to serve you as it was meant to, because it's your resource. And just imagine in your own way, let your mind find a way to open up the container, whatever it might be, and to become aware of the resource that may present itself as a word. It may present itself as an object, a precious gem, perhaps even an animal. It's unimportant. However your mind receives an image, a sense, a thought. And for some people, it may be a sound or a vibration, just pure energy. Let it be whatever it is without the need to change it or even understand it. And be with this resource. I'm just calling it a resource. Your higher intelligence inside of you knows this is one of your gifts. This is a very precious, timely gift that your inner intelligence knows is something that you really can use right now in your life. So be with the energy of this resource now. Again, without having to understand it or describe it. Trust it. Trust yourself. And let the energy permeate every part of your being with an awareness at that higher creative level of mind that this is a valuable resource that you are now ready for. You have been prepared to unleash it with all of its power, with all that it has to offer and to add to your life, to your abilities with helping people, with being all that you are able to be now. And let it permeate every part of your energy, every cell in your body. And be with that energy, again, accepting it with wonderful gratitude that allows you to open up even more to this gift without even having to know exactly what it is. And just knowing your higher mind knows this is for you right now, to expand your possibilities, to enhance your talents, your skills, and to prepare you for the coming hours and days and weeks to be able to have this resource now powerfully available to you in ways that you may become consciously aware of in the days to come. When something seems to appear or come from you that you instantly recognize is just perhaps a little different from what had been available in the past. And in those moments, you can have an instant sense of gratitude that that higher intelligence inside of you offered you and gave you the ability now to access one of your gifts, one of your resources that now can serve you as it was meant to, in ways, again, that will become evident as you move forward with your life, with your goals, with your ability to help others, if that's what you do. So that now, knowing that you've absorbed all that your higher mind knows is here for you, allowing yourself in this wonderful place where all these resources are stored, to go ahead and just be still for a few moments and let your inner intelligence, that higher mind, let it allow you to absorb any other resources here that can either enhance or add to what's available to you when you leave this place. Anything that your higher mind knows you are ready for. And I'll stay quiet just for a few seconds here as you allow yourself to absorb anything else, just trusting and taking it in. That's right. So now allowing yourself to start to move back into consciousness, knowing that that space where all of your resources are stored, that metaphorical space, that sacred space, perhaps, that you can go there anytime and discover perhaps even more that's available to you in the future. Coming back into awareness of your body, noticing how your body feels, and bringing your mind back into alertness. And I'll just go 1, 2, 3. And when you're ready, just open your eyes and come back out here, because, you know, this is all part of this experience here. So, I always like to think, I didn't plan what I was going to do there. It's just some little metaphorical little journey inside of yourself. Your mind creates it the way that's right for you, of course. And I'm just curious. I always like to ask anything interesting, unusual, unexpected, special, anything that you didn't expect, because then I know your creative mind was really allowed to give you something other than just thinking about what I was saying. Ellen?
Yeah, when I went to open that container, like the word teaching sort of came out of there, which I felt was unexpected, because I did ask myself, oh, what can I do to be more of service to the community? How can I unleash my inner resources in a way, so that I can better benefit people? And the word teaching sort of came out of there, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. That's something I'd like to
Beautiful.
explore more.
I love that. And had you not considered something quite that way before? On a conscious level?
I've always seen myself sort of presenting to people, but I've never really known how to go about it. It's more the how, I suppose, and what should I be teaching.
Yeah. So now you got that message from inside of your, yourself. And it sounds like it's time for you to start exploring that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling you'll get some more clues. Like I said, this, it's all, our consciousness is always moving and evolving. And if it gives us something, it's still processing and all of that. So I think this work also causes us to be more aware in our conscious mind so that we don't miss those clues, right? When an opportunity shows up or we meet someone just, even in just quick passing, but there's something there that's connecting to what our intention or what our passion is, or what we, our desires of what we're working with. And I think, again, this work causes us not to miss those opportunities. It lets us be more aware. Yeah. How about you, Maureen? What was that like for you? Anything interesting or unexpected?
No, not really. It was just running around inside my head.
Yeah, I was watching you, and you had a lot going on. Your eyes were open and they were closed a little, and open and closed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So while you were running around inside your head, I absolutely trust that I know you have goals and desires. So, and your mind, your unconscious knows that. So, just again, I always say, just trust the process. Trust that your mind in the coming days maybe will start to unfold some new things for you, or some new awareness.
Well, I think, just even looking outside of the little world I've been in, to find you on Meetup and everything is heading me in the right direction, because I want a additional training so like I feel confident when I'm talking to my clients.
Yeah.
I like the idea that you have a medical certification. I mean, that was part of the training I took, but not to throw any shade, but at the end of it, I didn't feel really confident to really do any of the work. It was, doing the Dolores Cannon training that has actually gotten me out there and working with clients,
Good.
because
Yeah.
there's a lot of support from them. And there was like additional videos, that's like kind of tells you the rest of the story. Like, well, if this happens,
Yeah.
then that happens, and it's nice to have examples of a session and how to handle a client if this or that happens, where I really didn't have that in the other training,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
um,
Yeah. And I told you earlier, I am a perpetual student. I'm a lifetime student. This is not a job. This is not a career. This is my life.
yeah,
And we've all been doing hypnosis since we were little kids.
right.
We
Well,
might not call it that.
yeah, whatever I get involved in, I always try to take all the classes I can. Like when I was a mortgage
Yeah.
broker, I took all these extra classes, all the law classes, and knew all the statutes. And same thing as a real estate. I take a ton of classes all the time because it benefits you as you go along.
Yeah.
And just being able to connect with other people, other hypnosis people, to say, hey, this is what's happening for me. Am I weird? Am I doing something wrong? And
Yeah.
so
Do you
far,
belong? Yeah. Do you belong to a group that has like an online chat room or has things online that you can go in and interact with others?
no, I don't.
Yeah,
He
because that's
had
one
some.
thing. I act and IMDHA. They have great online discussions going on all the
Oh,
time.
that's
Plus, they've got
nice.
a virtual library that has videos and all kinds of scripts and all kinds of free articles and books and things.
Oh,
But
nice.
yeah,
Yeah,
it never ends. You can always learn more.
he created his own internet. I think it's called IIAH, is International and
You're
something
talking about
Association.
Matthew now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
He said whatever Gil Boyne had, he kind of took that over and
yeah,
is
yeah.
creating standards and this and that and the other thing. And I don't know. I feel kind of just left blowing out in the breeze out there. So
Well,
um
don't blow on the breathing. I have your email, right? So,
yes, yep. It's my
like I
name.
said, I was trained by Al Krasner, who was Gil Boyne's nemesis. They were both
Okay.
fighting each other in California. They were all fighting each other back in the 90s, but they all came from stage hypnosis, and it was a
Right,
different style. I
right.
call it shtick.
Little
A lot of
thing.
people still do it, but well, it's a different style, and
So
styles have
yeah.
changed, and whatever style you do that your client trusts you and you do will probably work. The bottom
Mhm,
line. And
right,
sometimes it's nice to know there are some other options, some other ways to do things for the people that it
right.
doesn't work for.
Well, the funny thing, I remember being a little kid and watching like Bugs Bunny or Popeye or whatever, and they'd have the little thing and they'd be back and
Yeah,
forth.
yeah.
You're getting
Cleaning the
sleep.
watch.
I used to do that with all my friends
Yeah, there
as
you
a
go.
little kid.
See, you
You're
started
getting
really young,
sleepy. Yeah, I did.
and I'll bet it
So,
works sometimes, right?
um, the interesting thing for me is like I always thought, with hypnosis, you go to sleep, they fix you, and you wake up and you're like, oh yes. And no, that's not what happens. So it was
Nobody can fix you but yourself.
quite the shock to me, let me tell you.
Yeah. That's the good news, because that means
Yeah,
nobody can control your mind. You're the one that's got to do it.
right.
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
Well, I hope to see you both again. This is so quick, this class, and I did go a little over, but we started a little
Mm.
bit late, so I apologize for
Well,
that.
well, thank you.
Ellen, I think I have your email too. If you're on my email, I only send out maybe one a month. Some people say send more. I needed a reminder. I just get so many emails. I just tend to send less rather than more. So, but if
Mhm.
you ever don't want to be on my list, you won't hurt my feelings. But I have a lot of resources. I've been in this field over 3 decades, and I know a lot of great people. There's a lot of junk out there now with the internet. Trust me. And I know
Right.
people that are going to sites, and I'll go look at it and go, oh no. A lot of really mediocre to less hypnotists that I have met
Mm.
personally have amazing websites. They really do. And same goes for trainers or anything else. If you really want to learn this, learn from a variety. I would say learn a variety of styles and a variety of teachers. And yet you do have to be careful who you give your money to, because a lot of people are wonderful at marketing, but they're not so wonderful at the product.
Right.
And that's just the world we live in now. I know what to look for. If someone's looking for a hypnotist, I'm happy to help someone find one. I know what to look for in their website. If it's a beautiful website, somebody says, oh, they look like they know what they're doing. I know what to look at. And I know what's made up, and I know who forms their own groups. I have Up Hypnosis Institute. I didn't really publicize that my certifications are through that and IACT at first, because IACT is international. But I always gave them 2 certificates. But after all these, it's been over 20 years now that I've had that school. My school is very well known now. Up Hypnosis Institute is, now I feel proud, and feel like I'm actually giving them some value by giving them, well, actually I give them 3 certificates now in the hypnosis training, because I'm also a trainer for International Hypnosis Federation, which is Shelley Stockwell Nicholas, if you're familiar with her. She's been around forever. She's written like 1,000 books. She's amazing. But learn from everyone. But if you're on my email, if you ever need something, or you just want like, where can I go to do this or learn that, or do you know anyone that teaches this stuff? I know a lot of people, and I know the ones that are really dedicated to the work, that aren't just out for the money.